Hello and welcome to Smartling. This video will guide you through the first steps of translating content in our platform. To get started, please check your email inbox for an invitation email from us. Please click on the activation link to confirm your account and to set up a password. Select your notification preferences as well as your location and language pair. Once you hit the register button, you are now all set up. You can now log into the Smartling portal at dashboard.smartling.com. Smartling is a cloud-based translation platform, so you will not need to install or download any software. You don't even need to remember the Smartling URL. Whenever there is a new translation job available for you, we will automatically send you an email notification with a direct link to your Smartling dashboard. To ensure your email notifications are set up correctly, please click into your profile section next to your name and scroll down to the Global Notification Preferences section. To ensure Smartling can send you automated notifications for new translation work, please check that this toggle is switched on. In the Separate Notifications tab, you can also specify the exact type of notifications that you would like to receive for each customer project and also select how often you want to be notified, in real time or as a daily digest. Now let's go back to the home screen by clicking on the Smartling logo. Your Smartling home screen is showing your jobs dashboard, which lists out all of your translation tasks. We also call them jobs. On the left side, you can find several filtering and search options. The most important view will be your current work tab. Here you can find all jobs that have been assigned to you and are ready to be worked on. In the Available to Accept tab, you can find any jobs that might be available for claiming or accepting. Accepting means that you can assign a job to yourself if you are available to deliver the listed word count within the customer's due date. Of course, you can run a fussy estimate before accepting a job. Once you hit the Accept button, the job is now assigned to you and will be listed under your current work tab. If you are an editor or reviewer, the upcoming tab will show you jobs that are currently being translated and will soon become available for you. You can come in here to proactively check how many words will soon be coming your way for editing and when they will be due. And lastly, your Submitted tab will list out all of the jobs that you have worked on and submitted over the last 60 days. Of course, you can also filter for specific jobs, such as high priority jobs, or jobs pertaining to a specific customer project. Going back to our current work tab, we can now see the name of each translation job, as well as the project or folder that it belongs to, and your customer's name. We would recommend checking the little icons underneath the job name to see if any attachments or descriptions have been provided by your customer for further context. Next, you can see the word count for each job, as well as a progress bar to highlight how many translations have already been saved. To get a more detailed fussy estimate, please click on the ellipsis menu on the right side. This is where you can see the breakdown of each job by fussy tier, as well as the weighted word count. You can download this estimate in a CSV format for further processing. To see when a job will need to be delivered, please refer to the due date columns. There are two columns, one for the task due date and one for the overall job due date. The job due date is the final deadline, when all of the necessary steps will need to be completed for a job, including any editing or review steps. To make sure the overall job due date can be met, many customers will set up a specific task due date for you. If there is a task due date set up for you, please consider this as your deadline. For example, if my task due date is set to June 7th, the editors and reviewers who will check my translations will have 4 extra days to hit the overall job due date of June 11th. If there is no task due date listed, you can simply work towards the overall job due date. All times will always be shown in your local browser time zone. To begin working on a job, please click the Open button. This will open a new browser window for you with the Smartling Cat tool. The CAT tool, or Computer Assisted Translation Tool, has been specifically designed to make the translation process easier and more efficient for you. When you log in for the first time, you will be asked to confirm your preferred keyboard shortcut profile. Keyboard shortcuts allow you to perform certain actions, like saving translations, more quickly by pressing a combination of buttons on your keyboard. You can either select the keyboard shortcut profile from a CAT tool that you might already be familiar with, or if Smartling is your first CAT tool, simply select the Smartling profile. Next, you will be asked to confirm your preferences. If you are using a CAT tool for the first time, we would recommend confirming the default options by simply hitting Save. If you would like to customize the CAT tool behavior further, you can find more information about all available settings in our Help Center. We are now ready to start translating. There are three main panels in the Smartling CAT tool: the Context panel for visuals and contextual information, the Translation panel, and the panel on the right side for additional resources and information. If you are translating for a specific customer project for the first time, we would recommend reading through their style guide to familiarize yourself with the tone of voice that should be used. You can access the style guide anytime under additional details. Now you can start entering a first translation. The content to translate will automatically be split up into smaller translation units for you that we call strings. You will need to enter a translation for each of these units or strings. Simply click into the Translation panel and start typing. As you are typing, you can check the Context panel to see exactly where your translations will appear and what they look like in context. To save a translation, you can either click the checkmark symbol or use your keyboard shortcut. This translation is now saved, and you can move on to the next string. If you made a mistake and need to make a correction, you can go back and edit a saved string. Please save the new translation again once you are happy with it. As soon as you have saved a translation for each string in this job, you will be automatically prompted to submit your work. Submitting means that the translations will be sent to the next step in the workflow and they will leave your workspace. Submitting is an essential step to let your customer know that your work is finished. We would recommend using the default option to submit only translations which have previously been saved and are good to go. You will now receive a success message, and the log symbol will indicate that these strings have been submitted and have left your workflow step. So, to recap, please save each translation as you go along. This ensures that your work will be recorded, even if your computer crashes or you decide to take a break. At the end of each job, when you want to sign off on your translations, please click Submit. Once a job has been fully submitted, it will automatically be removed from your current work tab. Any submitted strings will also show up in your word count reports. Now that we've got the basics down, let's take a look at some additional resources that will make your translation process easier, quicker, and more efficient. You might see some percentages show up on the right-hand side. These percentages are referring to a feature called Translation Memory, or TM. A translation memory is a database where all translations for your customer will be stored, so they can easily be reused in the future. If the percentage on the right-hand side says 100%, this simply means that the same exact text has already been translated in the past. If a percentage between 50 and 99% is shown, this means that some similar text has been translated in the past, but the new string is slightly different. On the language resources, you can check exactly what has changed since the last time some similar text has been translated. In our example, we can see here the previous translation for the text, all of your linguistic assets combined. Whereas now we need to translate all of your linguistic assets under one roof. You might want to insert the previous translation and then make only some small tweaks. Depending on your personal settings, you might even see some suggestions from the translation memory already pre-filled. You can recognize these pre-filled entries by the blue dot that will indicate an unedited match from the translation memory. Again, you might just want to make a small tweak before saving your translation. This helps you translate faster and be more consistent with previous translations. You can also proactively search the translation memory. To check if and how a certain term or phrase was translated in the past, you can use the Search TM option from the top menu. This search across the entire translation memory is also called concordance search. If you have two screens available, you might want to pop this out into a new window so you always have it open and ready to go. Of course, you can also narrow down your search by using the filtering options. To ensure consistency across all translations, your customer will also provide a glossary. A glossary is a list of terms that are important to your customer's organization and that should use an approved translation or follow a certain definition. You can easily spot any glossary entries by hovering over the words that are underlined with a dotted line. You can now see the suggested translation as well as any definitions and notes. To insert the suggested translation for a glossary term, you can simply click on the translation from the glossary window. Your customer has the option to add specific instructions to a string to provide you with further context. You will see any instructions directly in the yellow bar above the text to translate. Please make sure to take these instructions into account for your translations. Your client might set up some character limits for certain strings to ensure that your translations will fit within a given format. If a character limit is set up, you can easily spot it in the right-hand corner of your translation window, and you'll see a warning as soon as the maximum length is exceeded. If you happen to make a small mistake in your translation, for example by entering a typo or by introducing a formatting error, you will see a quality check message pop up. Smartling offers a wide range of checks to make sure that you can deliver the best possible translation quality. Depending on the severity of the error, you might also get a pop-up message or be unable to save the translation without making the necessary corrections. If you would like to run a final check over the entire job, you can also use the quality assurance panel from your top navigation. Sometimes you will spot some grayed out number pairs in the source text. These numbers stand for HTML tags, which indicate some special type of formatting. If you want to see the actual HTML as it appears in the source text, you can click the Toggle Tags button. In most cases, these tags will appear in pairs. There will be an opening tag to mark the beginning of a certain formatting style, and a closing tag to indicate where the formatting style should end. In our example, the B stands for the beginning of some bold formatting, and the /B stands for the end of the bold formatting. By default, we will show these HTML tags as number pairs to make it easier to visually organize them around your translation. To insert a pair of tags, you can simply mark up the part of your translation that corresponds to the text in between the tags. Then click on the opening tag in the source text, and this will automatically apply both the opening and the closing tag to your translation. If needed, you can always drag and drop the tags to a different position in your translation. A different type of grayed out and non-editable content that you might come across are placeholders for variable content. In our example, the placeholder for first name will be replaced with the customer's name once the translations have been delivered. For example, hello John, hello Jane, etc. You won't be able to translate the placeholder itself, but you will need to translate the text around it and ensure that the placeholder is in the correct spot. That way, the translated sentence will be correct when the variable text will be filled in at a later point. To insert a placeholder in your translation, you can simply click on it in the source text. If you ever have any questions around the text to translate, you can use our Issues feature to communicate directly with your customer without having to leave the translation tool. To submit a new question to your customer, please click the Open New Issue button from the Issues panel on the right-hand side. For any questions in relation to the source text, please leave the issue type set as source. You can now ask your customer for clarifications, or, if necessary, point out a typo in the source text. Simply type in your question and click Create Issue. Your customer will be notified automatically about your question, and they will leave a comment for you if they have an answer. As soon as a comment has been submitted by your customer, you will receive an email notification from Smartling, so you can click back into this pop-up window and review the clarifications that have been provided. Once your question has been sufficiently answered, please don't forget to close out your issue by clicking the Resolve Issue button. Any questions will always stay linked in the Issues panel, so you can go back to them at any point in the future and revisit the comments. Sometimes you will also spot some issues that have been opened by other linguists. In Smartling, we share any source issues across all target languages to avoid repeating the same question multiple times. You can simply check which questions were asked by your colleagues and which comments were already provided by the customer. If you are working as an editor and proofreading translations that were submitted by other linguists, you have the option to provide some feedback if the translation quality is not meeting your standards. To ensure that the translator will be able to read your comment and to revise their translation, we would recommend clicking the X symbol to reject the string. You will now be asked to open a translation issue to indicate the reason for sending back the string and to provide your detailed feedback. This string has now been rejected. The lock symbol will indicate that the translation has been sent back and is no longer available in your editing step. Once the translation has been revised, it will become available for proofreading again, so you can run the final check on it. Last but not least, Smartling also offers robust reporting. In the report section on your home screen, you can find your word count report, which will list out your submitted work by fuzzy tier. You can download this report for further processing and filtering. The String Changes report gives you insight into any changes that were made to your translations by editors or reviewers. This report allows you to learn about your customers' preferences and tailor your translations accordingly over time. Of course, the Smartling team is also here to help if you have any questions regarding the Smartling platform or your translation interface. You can reach our support team directly from the Help tab. Our release notes will keep you up to date about cool new features and functionalities. If you need more information about the existing Smartling features and functionalities, we would recommend taking a look at our Help Center, where you can find valuable information to help you get started. Thank you very much for your time today. We are looking forward to welcoming you back in the Smartling platform very soon.